Hello and welcome to another high-octane episode of Full Throttle here on Unprecedented TV. I'm Paul Naylor from the Alliance of British Drivers, stepping in solo today as the regular host, Brian Gregory, is off recharging his batteries on a holiday. What a jammy boy. So there's no co-host chit-chat today. So what I thought we would look at, as the Communications Director for the Alliance of British Driver, it is... one of my tasks to put together our monthly magazine called Driving Sense. And then 4 times a year, we have Driving Sense Extra. So for those 4 quarters, we just put an extra bit of content in there. And we also go to print, as well as having it go out digital. So big thanks, first and foremost, because I must not forget them, Keith Williams, Brian McDowell, and my dear friend, Ian Taylor, for all the contributions they make towards the magazine. This March 2026 edition is packed from battling 15-minute cities to exposing net zero hypocrisy, EV flops, and why CO2 isn't the villain that it's made out to be. That's a big thing that we often cover on Full Throttle. If you're one of Britain's 37 million drivers tired of being squeezed by these misguided policies, this is for you. So let's jump right in. This is Full Throttle. So, yeah, what is Driving Sense? Well, Driving Sense is the magazine that replaced the previous magazine that we used to produce at the Alliance of British Drivers on the road. And there you go. There's the cover of the current issue. And this one is one of the Driving Sense Driving Sense Extra issues, should I say. So this is the 4th time that we've done Driving Sense Extra. More pages, more content. And like I say, we also print some of these and they go out to people who've paid that extra bit in their membership to receive it in print. So in this issue, the headline story is about 15-minute cities and how the ABD is fighting back against this ludicrous idea that people are being asked, or rather told, to live within walking distance, really, certainly within commutable distance of no more than 15 minutes from where they live to where they work, which is an absolute nonsense. I mean, this is like something from Victorian times. We're asking people to not get a job and improve their lifestyle beyond where they live. Absolute lunacy. It's a brilliant article from Brian Mooney, who is one of the main guys from ABD London, which is sort of a branch off from the main ABD, if you like. And ABD London focuses primarily, if not completely, on the capital city and the surrounding areas. So if you are from that neck of the woods, certainly look into ABD London. You can find them online on Facebook and various other platforms. So Brian goes on to talk about all the issues that are associated with 15-minute cities. The fact that people are going to basically have a life that isn't an improvement on what it's been the last 15, 20 years. At the ABD, we're all for developments that happen for our lives. But there are so many developments that have happened in the last few years that have been negative rather than positive. Developments are meant to be improvements to people's lives, not to the detriment. So when we're having ideas thrust upon us that are basically going to take away the freedoms that we've had and have probably unknowingly cherished for decades, and being told that they're going to be taken away, that's a bit of a bitter pill to swallow. Smacks of me of a dictatorship rather than put my teeth in, rather than a democracy. This image here comes from a rally that took place in Oxford. Oxford is one of the places where this crazy notion is to be rolled out, apparently. It's met a lot of resistance, shall we say. And these rallies have happened across the country. It's not just Oxford. There's all sorts of cities and towns across the country where people are attending and letting it be known that they don't want to have 15 and 20-minute cities. They just want to carry on with their lives the way they are. We've got enough going on to mither us. The electric vehicle mandate, for one, which I'm sure will come up again later in this program. But also, there's things like continual additions to your bin collection. I don't know about yourselves, you may already have it, but around here, we're about to have another bin. This one is for food waste. It just beggars belief. I mean, there's been a number of reports over the years and documentaries where we go to the trouble of separating all of our rubbish out and our recycling, and it all goes into the same place. So believe that or believe that not, that is apparently what does happen in some authorities. So yeah, there's a big no to these 15 and 20-minute cities. And really, with things that are going on in the world at the moment, as we speak, we've had the situation kick off in Iran. People have got more bigger fish to fry, more things on their plate to worry about than worrying about, am I living too far from where I work? Am I legal? Read the article. It's a fascinating piece, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. If you want to become a member of the Alliance of British Drivers, it's a very simple process. Head over to the website abd.org.uk, and you can find out there how to join. You're looking at £30 a year to be a standard member, or £45 a year so that you can then receive the digital copy as well, the printed copy 4 times a year as well of the magazine. But it also gives you access to voting for the ABD, and this this graphic sums it up nicely, doesn't it? The ABD wants you. So basically, we are also crying out for people who would like to join the board. It's not an onerous task. It's just a little bit of time, a little bit of help in giving direction to campaigns that we do, and how we reach out to the general public and to business, and also to the media. I was contacted earlier in the week by the Telegraph for my thoughts on the escalation of fuel prices that's likely to happen. And if when I popped to Tesco is anything to go by earlier today, and the forecourt was absolutely rammed, and they'd run out of unleaded, and it was only the super unleaded. Does make you wonder sometimes whether they have actually run out of it. When that was all that's available, yes, we are going to be having some issues on the forecourt. Anyway, 15-minute cities. Join, get the magazine, have a look, see what you think. Tony Blair's been in the news again as well. Tony Blair is apparently not such a fan of net zero as you might think. And in our report that appears in Driving Sense Extra, we got a brilliant write-up from one of our writers, Richard Town. And Richard is a former councillor and police commissioner, I think he was. And he has written a very comprehensive article about Tony's thoughts on some of the Labour policies. And let's just say he doesn't necessarily totally align with Ed Miliband. I always get his name wrong. Yeah, that's another great article and certainly worthy of your time. So again, join the ABD, get hold of the magazine, and read all about it. We want you. Now, one of the previous guests on Full Throttle was Catherine Porter, and Catherine was so delighted with her appearance on the show that she is due to appear with us again within the next month or so. So Brian and myself look forward to catching up with Catherine and seeing where she is with there was a paper that she was working on. And Catherine, for those of you who don't know, she's a big pain in the butt for these people that want to stop oil from happening. She really does get stuck in and is a fantastic ally for the likes of us at the Alliance of British Drivers that totally understand the necessity of oil. There's so many things that oil go into producing. It's not just for for your engines. It's not just sort of going towards making cars move and cars go. It's plastics. There's all sorts of things. There's clothing. This pharmaceutical industry relies heavily upon it. And Catherine goes to great lengths to explain what her thoughts are and the why the narrative towards stopping drilling for oil is such a stupid idea. And it's just going again towards this impoverishing of our once great nation. Again, at the time of recording this, it's just a couple of days ago that our dear illustrious leader fell out of favour with Donald Trump and made us look like, I don't know, idiots on the world stage. I'm not impressed, and I'm sure you're not either. Anyway, Just Stop Oil. That is a great headline for that, because obviously there is Just Stop Oil out there as a group. But Catherine, Just Stop Oil, ? And Catherine would tell you, don't stop drilling for oil. We need it in so many ways, not only just for the products that it goes towards making, but also the fact that our economy is getting weaker and weaker by the day. Why, oh, why would you choose not to drill for oil in the North Sea off Scotland when there's such big reserves there? And all we're doing at the moment is we're allowing places like Norway to carry on doing it and supplying it to us. It's a mad, crazy country that we live in. And that's another reason to join the ABD, because it's one of the things that we rally against all the time. Bob Bull, who was one of the former directors of the Alliance of British Drivers and still likes to have his 20 pence worth every now and then. Hi, Bob, if you're watching this. Miss you. Bob supplied us with some information regarding the energy industry collapsing. Basically, the chemical industry is also affected in a similar way to the oil industry. The fact that there's so many naysayers, and again, this comes from Ed Miliband. Why are we listening to effectively one man's ideology on this? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. If I just read from this bit here, just to give you a flavour of the article. Major firms like Harbour Energy, Apache and Chevron have reportedly scaled back UK operations or announced exits, citing an uncompetitive tax and regulatory environment. Experts warn that the plan to decarbonise the grid by 2030 is at risk due to massive backlogs in connecting new projects and the unexpected energy demand from a boom in data centres, which was reportedly under accounted for in previous modelling. So, not only are they harebrained ideas, but they've not been, there's no budget for them. The lady with the budget. Let's not talk about Rachel Reeves too much, shall we? But again, it's a harebrained idea that hasn't properly been monetized, and is just another reason why this country feels, to the majority of us anyway, it feels like a foreign land at the moment. It certainly does to me, and I'm sure there's a few of you out there nodding your heads in agreement. We feel like the UK of, say, 10 years ago has just completely disappeared, and with stupid ideas coming from people at the top of government. If you want a referendum on anything, we should have had referendums on the EV mandate. We should have had referendums on net zero. Those, I would argue, are probably as important as when we decided to leave Europe in the way that we did. They're all key to the future of this country, and each of them should have been offered out as a referendum to the people. What are your thoughts on that? Please send us emails. You can find out our email address by looking online. If you go to abd.org.uk And in fact, you can email me. I do a lot of their PR. So it's paul@mediaandyou.co.uk. Flag it up as ABD comment. But yeah, I hope you can tell I'm really, really peed off with this. Okay, so here's an interesting one. So in the southwest of England and the north of Scotland, now these are just two areas that have been looked at, but they are certainly spurning the idea of electric vehicles. So what does that mean? Well, basically, people have got range anxiety. So this is a Department for Transport report. A spokesman has told the Greater London Transport Network, which is what Richardstown puts together. It said with 2 in 5 used electric vehicles, EVs, are now under £20,000, going electric is becoming more affordable for more families. So that's what they're saying. Okay, so if it's becoming more affordable, why is there still no take-up of it? Simple answer is people don't trust electric vehicles. Again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is the fact that it's every time there's a supposed improvement in standards of how we live as a society, then it should be an improvement. It shouldn't be a step backwards. And for many people, and myself included, I feel that electric vehicles are a backward step in terms of usability. If I want to get from A to B, I don't want to get from A to A and a half because my batteries run out. Now, I can find a petrol station pretty much anywhere, but I know various people that I've spoken to over the years who've had electric vehicles. When they've gone to go and get them charged up at a service station, or I don't know, you can get them on McDonald's car parks, hotel car parks, places of work. When they've turned up, sometimes these machines don't connect to their banking card for whatever reason, or in some instances they've been vandalized, or they're just not working. So if you're down to your last, I don't know, 10 miles of range, and all of a sudden you're faced with not being able to charge it up, to me, EVs are a modern day inconvenience rather than an improvement for the driver. When they get to a stage where they're running, say, at 600 miles on a charge, and that they are cheaper to run, because we found out recently that they're not cheaper to run, but when they are cheaper to run and people can reliably drive around, then yes, there'll be an argument for them. At the moment, I would say they're very much in their infancy, and that it should be a choice rather than a mandate. And this idea at the moment that by 2030 that there'll be no more production of internal combustion engine vehicles, be that petrol or diesel, is absolutely crazy, because not only is it impractical for many people to have an electric vehicle, there's a lot of people out there that travel a lot of miles to get from their place of work to home and back again. And there's also a lot of people that might be sales reps, or for whatever reason they do a lot of miles. It's just totally impractical. So until that technology catches up, it's not going to be a choice for those people. Now, EVs do work for a number of people. They work for the likes of Doris Smith, age 70, who just potters backwards and forwards to the shops twice a week, nips into Asda, nips into Tesco, does a bit of shopping, and then goes and sees a grandson. And, that's fine. It works for her. But it's certainly not working for the sales rep out there and the people that need to get to where they're going and know that they're going to get there on time. Who's got time to go and sit at a service station? This bothers me intensely. Who's got time to sit there for half an hour to wait for their car to charge up enough to get them to where they've got to go to? Madness. Petrol car, diesel car, you turn up, you put it in your tank, you close your nozzle, you pay, you go. Easy. So until the technology has caught up to a sufficient standard, not for me. And so a lot of what Richard says in this article is that there is basically still huge kickback from people. They're not buying electric vehicles. We know for a fact that brand new electric vehicles, they're trying to issue all sorts of grants for people to make that decision. Bribery, you might say. I couldn't possibly comment. But then also in the used vehicle market, the fact that some of these are, they're not retaining their value. They're not retaining anywhere near their value. And the depletion in the ability for the batteries to charge, that depreciates over time. I think it was my father-in-law that said that he'd gone to a breaker's yard with his partner to look for a bit for her car, and there was a row of about 7 or 8 reasonably new electric vehicles, all sort of parked up in this breaker's yard. And George asked them. He said, "They look too good to be here." And basically, they'd been written off because it wasn't cost effective to replace the batteries on them. Their batteries, for I don't know, there has been a fault or whatever, but the batteries weren't working, and because of that, it was going to be too costly to replace them, and therefore they were scrap. How crazy is that? Now, if that's just one breaker's yard, imagine that times 100, 200 across the country. We're being hushed on this. This isn't the sort of thing that is being spoke about as anywhere near as enough as it should be. So Richard makes some great points in that article. Again, join the ABD, get the magazine, read the article. He keeps popping up, doesn't he? Tell you what, until I had a trim earlier, I had a moustache getting on like that. Right then, the next one. The chickens have come home to roost. Now, what's this all about, you might say? Look at that. I put that graphic together. I'm quite proud of that. It's quite cool, isn't it? So basically, this is looking at the latest figures from Ford. So let me just increase that on my screen because there's some figures in here that are important. So this is a small article that we've got in this issue. And we've reported in previous issues about the fact that car manufacturers around, particularly these are the US giants. These are your General Motors and Ford. So General Motors being Vauxhall, essentially. We've already reported on the fact that they are struggling because, again, they're being asked to do the same. They're being asked to aim for electric vehicle production rather than internal combustion engine production. And these figures are pretty sobering, actually. So Ford's losses, and I take it this could be globally, or it might be just for the US, but Ford's losses since 2022, a net loss of $2.2 billion. Okay, let that soak in. The following year, 2023, a net loss of $4.7 billion. So it's getting worse, not better. And in 2024, a net loss of $5.1 billion. So over a period of 3 years, that's had about $12 billion. About $12 billion lost. Now, I don't know any business that could sustain that kind of hit. I mean, these are motoring giants. But, they can only last for so long on that basis. And then if you add in the losses that have coming in so far that they've got for 2025, the figure is kicking around 15.6 billion. That's less than 4 calendar years. 15.6 billion. People just don't want electric vehicles. You can't force things onto people. Well, you can, because what you can do is you can say no more internal combustion engines, and it boils my blood. At the end of the day, electric vehicles, as I was saying, just should be a choice, shouldn't be mandatory. So as long as alongside petrol, diesel, there should be EV, and it should be up to the consumer, the driver, the company. It should be up to them what they drive, and they will have various reasons why they choose to drive a certain engine format. Again, send your thoughts into the ABD. So, on a recent episode of Full Throttle, we had a dear friend of mine, Mark Chester. Now, I've worked with Mark on a number of projects over the years. My business is like a media business, graphic design and layout design for books, magazines, etc. And I've helped Mark with one of his projects, which is called Oscar's Tree Academy. So he's developed an educational platform based on trees. Now, why trees, you ask? Well, Mark is a tree consultant, and he's the sort of person that you invite along to your property, your school, your business. If you think you've got issues with trees, if you've got one that's been damaged in a storm and is looking dangerous, or if you've bought a parcel of land and you're looking to develop it, but there's a number of significant trees on the site, well then Mark can come along and let you know whether or not the tree is able to be removed, or whether it has got some sort of preservational right, because it might be an ancient tree, it might be a tree of some significance. But he's an interesting fella, and we had him on the show. And you might expect somebody that's so heavily involved with trees to sort of lean towards the Labour view on carbon dioxide. Not at all. Mark went to great lengths, and he turned out to be a fantastic guest, great lengths to talk about why CO2 isn't the enemy of people that we're being led to believe. In fact, without it, trees and plant life would struggle. And if trees and plant life, and therefore food, struggle, then the animals and people that eat that stuff are going to struggle too. So CO2 is actually important for life, not to the detriment. So yeah, he was a great guest. And it was quite weird for me, because I mean, obviously I've known Mark for a number of years, and to have to introduce him in that context and have him on Full Throttle, it was like two worlds colliding for me. So it was great. He went on to explain about photosynthesis, and about how when we come to plant trees, there's reasons why trees shouldn't be planted so clustered together. There's a lot of goodwill out there with people who feel compelled to plant a tree, or have an organisation plant it on their behalf, which is great. But through the work that I've done with Mark, I know that it's about planting the right tree in the right place and for the right reason. Brian Gregory, the regular host, went on to ask the question, would it be advisable for more trees to sort of line our road system, particularly our motorways, to absorb some of the exhaust fumes, etc. And it's certainly something that Mark thought would be good. So yeah, it was interesting to see Mark's opinions, because, like I say, it would have been probably, most people would have guessed that he would have gone all sort of a tree hugger and gone down the left route, when in fact he's very much a supporter of the ABD, and he advertises actually in Driving Sense and Driving Sense Extra. And advertising in Driving Sense and Driving Sense Extra is very reasonable. So if you're a business and you support the ABD, again, get in touch with me, Paul at medianew.co.uk, and I can let you know how to go about having an advert in our very well read and very well thought of magazine. Another very new member, Martin Evans, he sent us an article, and we thought, well, we've got to print this. This is great. I mean, we love the fact that such a new member has been so enthusiastic straight away. So Martin Evans, and he put forward a very good case for why older vehicles are better than new. There you go, a dear old Mini, before Minis were BMWs. So the case, get back. So he put forward the case that in the good old days, you could get yourself a manual, you could pop the bonnet, and you could work out how to tinker with your car. And if there was an issue with it, you'd be able to pretty much guarantee you could sort it. Or certainly you could get in there and understand the engine for people that just like to know what's going on under the bonnet. So it's a great little article. He clearly is not a fan of modern cars. And he's a man who has surrounded himself by cars over the years. He's been a regular attendee of Grand Prix and Le Mans, so he likes his vehicles. But he puts forward, like I say, a very good case for why modern cars, they're just not the fun that they used to be. You pop a bonnet on that car there, for example, you're likely to see a couple of big plastic units and think, well, what do I do with this? And it's only when something goes wrong and you get something come up on your dashboard and you take it back to the dealership and they go, oh, we're going to have to put the diagnostics computer on that. Well, you know, that's an excuse to print money as well, isn't it? So we've probably all been there. It needs the diagnostics machine on it. So that's an instant, I don't know, 50, 60 pounds straight away before you've even got a result. So yeah, Martin was sort of hankering for the good old days where he could get his car on the drive and have a good look underneath. Right then. So what else is there in the magazine? Media logging. So as an organization, we campaign on your behalf. And what we do is we campaign against horrendous driving conditions, potholes everywhere. That's a big bugbear of ours, is potholes. More hyper-local and more pertinent to certain areas of the country, London, Birmingham, and other major cities, are things like LTNs, low traffic neighborhoods, and ULEZ zones, ultra low emission zones. But we campaign against those as well. And again, Brian Mooney, who I talked about earlier, and Richard Town, they get involved heavily with that as well, as they are London centric. And so in our media logging, we also talk about this show, Full Throttle, because we're very proud of what we produce here. And great team at unprecedented.tv. Yes, Charlotte, I'm talking about you. And also Lembit. But there's a great team at unprecedented.tv that helps us to get our message out there and support our cause, and also to talk to some of the people out there that are very much in the know. We've had some fairly well-known guests. Ben Habib, who you will know, who has now got his own political party up and running since leaving Reform. Ben was a guest, and a brilliant mind Ben has. Anne Widdicombe, who's a household name, and again, I know Anne personally because I used to do some work with Anne, but I hadn't seen her for a while, so that was nice to catch up with her when we did that show. And Anne, whatever your thoughts are on Anne Widdecombe, there's one thing I'm sure you'll agree with me, is if you ask her a question, she'll give you an answer. And she did. So, Anne, if you're watching, hello. Yeah, Catherine Porter's been on. And in our most recent show that aired just the other week, we had as guests, returning guests, should I say, David Turver and Catherine McBride. Now, Catherine McBride is a very respected scientist, and together between her and David, who is the author of Elegant Values on Substack, they are crafting a paper that will go out there, and it's basically quashing the green agenda, and in particular the net zero ideology. It's a great show. If you look it up if you go to YouTube, and if you put in Full Throttle, Catherine McBride, David Turver, Paul Naylor, Brian Gregory, if you put all of that content in, you'll find the show. But maybe in the post-production, we might put the link up on the screen. You never know. Yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. In the show, we talk about all sorts of aspects of it. There's basically why net zero just isn't the be all and end all. Why we're trying to achieve something that other countries a lot bigger than us, that pump out a lot more CO2 than us, and they're not striving for net zero. So why should we? I mean, that sounds petty. That sounds like they're not doing it, so why should we? But what I mean is, as we've said earlier in the show, carbon dioxide really isn't the enemy that it's being promoted to be. So why should we do it? Other countries clearly have already grasped that message. And not only do they not believe that CO2 is the problem that it's being made out to be, but also from a financial point of view, it's not really a good idea to go down that path. This country, this once great nation, which hopefully will be great again in my lifetime, certainly needs to change a lot of its ideas, and to wake up and realize that the general public, not only do they not agree with what you're doing, but if given the chance, they would let you know in a ballot. And all the time, whenever there's any uprising, shall we say, there's any challenges out there on the streets, when we've had riots, for example, Starmer has said, I get it, we need to move faster. No, you don't need to move faster. You just need to stop moving in the direction of traffic you're moving. Dear, oh dear. Anyway, that's just some of the highlights that you would get by reading this issue of Driving Sense Extra. Remember, the ABD and Driving Sense needs you. And that is pretty much all we've got time for today. So thank you for this. It's been a bit of a monologue. I'm off now for a glass of water. And yeah, thank you for joining us. And don't forget, abd.org.uk. Sign up, join today, and let's fight back. Bye for now. Bye.